Today is May 23rd. This is the Personnel and Administration Committee. And here in the chamber, we have Council President Mark LaPlante, myself, Councilor Stephanie Infante, and on Zoom, we have Councilor Pavel Payano. And persistent to Chapter 20 of Acts of 2022, this meeting of the Personnel Committee is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may either attend in person at the chamber or use the City Council Facebook page or YouTube page. And if you can please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Just for the record, councilors who are not here this evening that are part of the Personnel Committee, Vice President Stella Reyes and Councilor Maria de la Cruz. And now I am looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes of the meeting from May 10th.
So moved.
I'm not going to second the motion that we need to, but I'm not going to second only because I wasn't there for that meeting, so I don't feel comfortable adopting the minutes, not as a voting member. So I will not be. You don't need this.
So we don't need to second, okay. So
But I'm
roll
not,
call. Okay.
you can call if you want. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to call the roll call. Councilor Payano,
Yes.
President LaPlante,
Abstain.
and I vote yes.
So the question.
Clerk, since you're with us, we need 3 votes to pass, correct? Clerk LeBlanc?
You need a majority of the members of the committee. So how many are on the committee?
4.
Yep, you need 3.
We'll just move on. I'll stay there for the next one.
Okay. Moving on, new business, we have item 16222, confirmation of Assistant City Clerk Richard Reyes, and we also have Personnel Director Gina LaGreca here with us today.
Councilors, for this position, the employee is appointed by the mayor. However, they need to be confirmed as well by City Council. And I do believe that this is a wonderful candidate for the position. However, I'm going to let City Clerk Diane LeBlanc speak to his credentials for you.
Madam Chair, if I may I proceed?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I've only been in Lawrence a short time, but being able to work with and recommend Richard Reyes for this position to the mayor is certainly one of the highlights of my time here. Richard, and the same is true of Damaris. Richard was my choice, and maybe I'll wait before I talk about Damaris. He was, out of everybody that applied for the position, he was the highest qualified in terms of ranking by personnel. But again, just his superior knowledge of the city of Lawrence and of the elections division, there really was no better candidate. And Richard is just so easy to work with, right? And just a pleasure. It doesn't matter what you're working on. And we've worked on some difficult things, right? Elections can be very stressful. You know, when I came into this position, in less than a month, I was looking at a preliminary and shortly thereafter the general election. And we carried out 2 successful elections. And a big part of that credit, well, certainly credit goes to all the staff, but a big part of that credit goes to Richard Reyes, who was brought back as a contractor. So to be able to get him back in the city employ, in this position in particular, is just very, very valuable for the city. And so, I mean, I couldn't possibly give Richard a higher recommendation.
Thank you, Clerk. We do have Mr. Reyes here in the chamber with us. Mr. Reyes, would you like to say a few words?
First of all, I just want to say thank you, Diane, for choosing me. Thank you for the counselors for giving me this time. It's always been a pleasure serving the city. I'm glad I'm back, and I'm going to continue doing the best that I can to continue serving the city of Lawrence. Thank you.
Counselors, do you have any questions or comments?
Madam Vice Chair?
Counselor Prayano?
Thank you. No questions. Just, my comment is that having, seen Richard these last several years, working, with us, making sure that our elections are run well. I find that he has the, the experience and, type of character and leadership that I think that we need. And I want to thank him for wanting to continue on with us. So I just want to say, thank you, and that I'm going to be voting in favor. I'd like to discuss the motion. I can discuss.
Go ahead, Counselor Prayano.
I was going to make a motion to send it to the full council with favor recommendation.
Discussion.
President LaPlante?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to elaborate on what Clerk LeBlanc said regarding Assistant Clerk Reyes. This is a guy that has been battle tested. He has served in the city elections division for several years now. I don't think there's anything he probably hasn't seen, or if he doesn't, knows how to get an answer to it. But he's unflappable from my observations and knowledgeable. So when the pressure hits, it sure seems as though he's a cool customer and is able to deal with it with some knowledge. And if he doesn't have the knowledge, I think he knows where to go to get the information. And this is the kind of seasoned pro that we need in that position. And I'm delighted that he is interested in staying. And I know that the role that he's going to have will be particularly important as we continue on this year. And to make sure that he's with us is going to be truly, truly valuable. So I don't really have many or any questions to ask, because my questions have been answered through my observations of his work ethic and his abilities. So my questions have already been answered. The other thing I would say is we're finally doing this the right way. These are positions that over time has somehow morphed into things that it needs to have council approval. And so I am delighted that we are taking this seriously, and we're trying to do the best we can to abide by our ordinances and doing things the right way. So with that, I look forward to the vote, and I look forward to supporting this, not only here this evening, but at the full council.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, with that being said, we do have a motion, so roll call. Chair Payano?
Yes.
Council President LaPlante?
Yes.
And the Vice Chair votes yes. Next on the agenda, we have item 16322, confirmation of Assistant City Clerk Damaris Ruse. Again, we have Director LaGreca here, Clerk, we also have our City Clerk, and also Ms. Ruse is here with us in the chambers.
Again, this is a position which the employee is appointed by the mayor, however, is subject to confirmation by City Council. I present to you Damaris Ruiz, who has been with the city for some time, and we're glad to get this process going to confirm her, hopefully with favorable recommendation. She's a wonderful employee, and again, I will have City Clerk Diane LeBlanc speak to her credentials.
Madam Chair, may I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. Again, as I gave my highest possible recommendation for Richard, I do the same for Damaris. Two very different situations. I did not get to choose Damaris. I inherited Damaris, and it is was a great blessing to me that she was there in the position that she was in. She is rock solid. She knows the work of that office inside and out. Nobody knows vital records in this city like Damaris Ruiz. I'm still in awe. I watched her, I don't know, maybe it's 2.5, 3 weeks ago now, as we were trying to help an elderly woman find a vital record that was clearly critically important to her. And the handwriting was impossible to read. And very, very long story short, she left no stone unturned. And she found the record of this woman's brother, and it was a happy day for all. So again, Damaris, she keeps at it. She gets the job done. Many of the things that are required of the city clerk's office on a daily basis are time sensitive, right? We process the public records request, we process the public meeting notices, which, as you know, need to be posted 48 hours in advance. Well, some of the boards and commissions in the city think posting 48 hours in advance means sending them to Damaris 48 hours in advance. Often she has very little time to do these time-sensitive things that are needed. She doesn't complain. Sometimes I wish she would. I need to say, okay, Damaris, what are you thinking? You know, do we need to be doing something different? Are you okay? Am I giving you too much? She just gets the job done. And again, she's a pleasure to work with.
Thank you. Damaris, would you like to say a few words?
Hello. I'm just glad to hear Diane's words. It was very kind of like a hard transition, but she came in and we worked together, and I have good words for her as well. She's very patient with me, and I'm patient with her, and we get the job done however we can.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I wanted to say just a couple of things about Clerk Ruiz. This is Madam Chair, she's an individual who clearly is willing and able to step up and to do the work of the clerk's office. I think she's a very solid pick to continue in that capacity, and I'm so glad that she is deciding to take this responsibility. I'm so glad she has applied and that hopefully, and I suspect that she will, get this position. The one thing that I would add to this, I think that Clerk Ruiz has a mastery of the office function in there, or a very good understanding of that. The place, if I were to provide some encouragement, would be in the city council operations. I think there's room for growth there, understanding our rules, understanding the processes, and being able to flower a bit with writing skills. As we all know, this evening we received a message from the city clerk with her news about her departure, and so we're going to need both of these individuals to step up and to be a bigger role in the transition, and that I know that I'm going to need as the council president. I need to lean heavily on the person inside the clerk's office to provide guidance and assistance to make sure that this part of the function works out well. Yes. So very patient, and we can work together. We have in the past, and I look forward through you, Madam Chair, look forward to continue that work. And if there's anything that I can do to help facilitate that part of the education or that experience, I am willing to help, and because we're going to both benefit from that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Council Payano, is there anything that you would like to add, or are you all set?
Nothing that I'd like to add. I think, Councilor Plant, spoke, very well. And I would echo those comments. I think that, but before we had a city clerk, we saw the efforts in the office through her leadership, and I want to commend you for your work and constantly trying to improve yourself and the office, and I look forward to working with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Payano. And I echo with what my colleagues have said. So at this moment, I am looking for a motion.
Send it to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay. Roll call. Council President LaPlante.
Yes.
Chair Payano.
Yes.
And Vice Chair votes yes. Okay. The final vote will be during our next full council meeting, which is on June 7th. Next on the agenda, we have item 16622, appointment of Michael Laird to the Licensing Board Commission, brought to us by Mayor DePena. I don't see anyone from the mayor's office here, but we do have Ms.
I'm sorry. Gina, go ahead.
Oh, we do have Mr. Laird here in the chambers. If you don't mind coming up and just telling us a little bit more about yourself and your interest in being on this board.
My name is Michael Laird. I've been a resident of Lawrence almost my whole life, except for the time in the military service, where I've been 6 years almost in the service. I worked in the city of Lawrence for 33 years as a policeman. I did patrol for 13 years, 17 years as a detective, investigating drugs, homicides, evidence, doing the evidence room, approving all the licenses for the police department, such as secondhand, pawn shops, raffle permits, and bazaar permits. I like to help the city because sometimes I look at it and see what's going on here, and it's sad sometimes to see what's going on here, and I want to help them. There's too many gangs, guns. Just want to help the city.
Well, Mr. Laird, first I want to say thank you for your service. And I also thank you for wanting to continue to give back to our community and our city. I think it's a lot of work. It's a lot of additional work on our daily lives to give back. So I do appreciate that, and I do thank you for that.
Thank you.
Councilors, is there any comments or questions that you have? Either someone has? Council President? Chair Payano?
I'd like to send this, I'd like to make a motion to send this to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Discussion.
Council President?
Thank you. So, is it Detective Laird?
I was.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your service. We also appreciate your service to the United States Army. It means an awful lot. We do appreciate those who have decided to wear the uniform, both in the military and then back in our city. So thank you so much for that. The planning board, which is what you're asking to be a part of now.
Licensing board.
Licensing, my bad. Does it say planning on here? Does this say planning or license? The next board said planning. My apologies, licensing board. Give us an idea. This is, with your background, I'm going to lead you a little bit. Your background as a police officer, what do you think is the most important aspects of the licensing board?
Well, a couple of things. These people who run the liquor licenses in different places that have license, they're here to support themselves and their family. If they make a mistake, we're all human. We all make mistakes. So they shouldn't be punished the way they're being punished sometimes in front of the boards, taking their livelihoods away from them. They should have a way of sitting down with them, talking to them, educate them, and Give them a warning the first time. Talk to them, work things out with them. Don't come down and just, boom, close the door on them. They have to be helped and keep them there to help their families. You know, as a police officer, I worked a lot of Spanish clubs as a policeman there. And when I used to walk in there, I was not only there to protect the club and the people in it, but to protect the owner. If someone was underage, it was my duty to get them out of there and tell the owner about it. These ain't being done today. You know, kids got false IDs and everything else, but they're blaming the club owners for this because there's no way to tell this. They make IDs so perfect today that you think they're coming from the state. And these things, they have to work with the city. Yeah, you have to work with the licensing board and other people to talk to and straighten things out and educate them. You know, and I believe I can help them.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the answer. I guess, I mean, it's just listening to your answer, it appears as though you believe that the licensing board, without any warnings at all, are taking enforcement action without any kind of education. Is that your belief?
No, I believe that sometimes they're too hard on them. In the first offense, they're being hard on them. You know, it's like going to court. The first time you get caught in trouble in court, they continue without a finding, or they slap your wrist and don't do it again. This is what we should be doing here. You know, educate them. They're not responsible for all the drugs that come into the clubs because I can't stop all these people from coming into the clubs with drugs. You can tell them, don't sell it here, get away from here. They're not responsible for people bringing guns in because you can't search them all. You know, these people have to be educated. And the minute that someone has a gun in the club, it's the club's fault. It is not the club's fault.
So I think through you, Madam Chair, I think the ultimate answer here is we have our laws and regulations that are there. The idea here is to make sure that the public is safe as well. That's a bulk of the reason, and behaviors are changed. I mean, our responsibility is to make sure that if we're providing a license, or if you're providing a license, that people have the confidence about going into an establishment and knowing that they're safe, or there's not laws being broken inside that establishment. The bottom line, from my perspective, it doesn't really make a difference how you get to that point. The bottom line is we need to make sure that licenses are paid on time, that there's not a fire hazard around there, that there aren't any guns or other kinds of activities going on, that underage drinkers are not doing that they're paying their taxes as they should be for all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are going on there, and it's not just the bars and clubs. There's rooming houses under your jurisdiction, the licensing board. There's also pool tables, other things as well. The rooming houses are pretty big. And I know in my district, there's at least one rooming house, maybe two, that would require some boots on the ground and an observation, because sometimes these things get lost because the bright, shiny object are the clubs, and it's more than the clubs. What's your response?
My response is that as a police officer, I forget the name, it was at 248 Broadway, it was a rooming house. My job when I was working for the North Broadway Association was to stop the problems over there. When I was out there, there was no problems. Walking the beat, going in the buildings, walking around the building, saying hi to the people, getting to know them. Just the presence of an officer walking into the building calms things down, all right? I know about all the machines and the licenses and the pool tables, they all have to be regulated. I also know that you have to fill a form out. So how many people in there before you serve the drinks? You're supposed to fill out a form that you search the areas searched to make sure the entrances are not blocked. The fire hydrants and the fire extinguishers are working. Nothing's out of the way. I know what's going to be done. I'm a little nervous, but I think that I can do the job.
Madam Chair, thank you. And I think nerves are not a bad thing. They can be a good thing. Keeps us on our toes. My last, I guess, question is a hypothetical. A number of the clubs that we have, what happens is, my understanding is oftentimes they're the same people that change the incorporation names, and they change. But we got the same people who are just kind of rotating around. So it's essentially folks who know what the laws are, I'm not sure that more education is required necessarily because they know. So the point here is if you've got a track record of recidivism, right? Track record of people who continually have done it twice, 3 times, 4 times the same thing. Is it your belief that you're still going to start at the low bar and work your way up? Or at this point, you're going to say, why can't you understand what the laws are? This is your 4th time before, 3rd time, or whatever it is.
No. My theory is, the first time they walk in, you don't crucify them. You work with them. A person's been there 4 or 5 times, and I don't want to bring up one special area or anything like that, a club or a liquor store or anything like that, but if they keep violating it, they deserve what they get. And that means a suspension or take the license away. But you have to, don't start hard off them, but work on them and educate them. You know, I heard someone tell me, a police officer tell me, I sat down with him, I talked to him. You know what? As a police officer, I found out the Spanish community, and let me know, my mother's Spanish, okay? Spanish community, they're afraid when they see a police officer sometimes. They're afraid they can't talk to them. And they'll just go, yes, yes, yes. They have to break that barrier. My mother died a couple years ago. She was 103, but she could speak English, but it was broken English. And she went to City Hall, or the Social Security office, they wanted to talk to her. She said, I can't speak Spanish, I can't speak English. And she could. She was afraid they were gonna laugh at her because of her broken English. And that's what happens in this city today. They do speak English, but they're afraid to talk, and they think we're gonna ridicule them.
To answer your questions?
No, that was pretty, okay, sure.
I would like to say, Mr. Laird, I'm here looking at your application, and I can speak for I personally appreciate that human element that you're trying to bring into the leadership. I do hear from various different type of businesses and business owners about how sometimes us as a city, and this is all across the board, this is not just this board alone, but this is across the city, we can be a bit too harsh and we don't listen to our business owners, and I know there is a need of additional education. So I do appreciate that the human element that you're looking to bring into this leadership position. And I know with your experience as 30 years as a police officer and a detective, I am confident that you'll know what to do with those establishments that continue to break our rules and our laws here in the city. Councilor Praiano, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, just a comment. So I thank you so much, sir, for your response and for your interest in wanting to be involved. I echo, the sentiment of Vice Chair Infante. Over the past 5 years, I've seen things that, like I've seen the committee act right, and I've also seen the committee move in ways that I don't think are correct. I think it's important for the committee to ensure that they are that they understand the not just the power that they have, the influence that they have, but that they're acting as a committee. I think in the past, what I've seen is that committees are basically an extension of the investigators that are looking into possible violations. And when I talk to committee members, they talk to me about, oh, well, we don't want to get so-and-so, and one of the investigators upset. So that's why we're sticking with that, that person's recommendation of punishment. And that to me rubs me the wrong way, because it's one thing whether, the committee as a whole believes that's a good recommendation. It's another thing where they're trying to find a middle ground between the investigator's recommendation and the, whoever is presenting. I think the committee themselves, you guys are the ones that make these decisions. Everybody else is advisors to it. I hope you take that, into account. And I think that above all, the process should be fair. Not just people, I mean, it's important for people to be educated, but, the process is fair, and if the process is fair, then those that are repeatedly, creating violations will be found out, and those that either made a mistake or perhaps, they didn't make a mistake, but it is implied that they did, you guys would be able to uncover that. I think it's a very hard job, the ones that you guys have. I definitely don't envy it, but I hope that you take everything into consideration, and that you guys also do your own investigations. With that said, I'd like to make a motion to send this to the full council with favor recommendation.
Chair Payano, we do have a motion on the table already, so roll call. Council President?
Yes.
Chair Payano?
Yes.
And the Vice Chair votes yes.
I thank you very much, all of you. Have a good night.
You too, Mr. Laird. At this point, I'm not sure if anyone has any tabled matters that they would like. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. The last new business item we have is item 17122, adding the planning director position under the Planning and Development Department, brought to us by Mayor DePena.
I'd like to make a motion to table this item. There's no background information or no other information as part of this package.
There is a motion on the floor. Is there, I'm going to do a roll call. Chair Payano?
Yes.
Councilor President LaPlante?
Yes.
The Vice Chair votes yes. This time I'm looking to make a motion to adjourn.
So move and then discussion, briefly. So that's real quick discussion. I talked to the city director today, and for the hiring of the new city attorney, I just want to make sure everybody's aware, we've started to receive some applications. So they're starting, not a lot, but they're starting to come in. So just a little bit of an update.
Thank you. All right, so now roll call to adjourn. Chair Payano?
Yes.
President LaPlante?
Yes.
And the Vice Chair votes yes. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight.